Hey guys, welcome to a new movie review. Today I'm going to be telling you my thoughts on the new Cameron Crowe film called Aloha. This film was originally going to be called Deep Tiki, and I know it had a lot of production problems. I think this film is actually even going to be released around Christmas time in 2014, but somehow, some way, we got it in May of 2015 instead. But in Aloha, you guys, this is the latest Cameron Crowe film. For those who don't know who Cameron Crowe is, he's done some pretty big films like Jerry Maguire, Almost Famous. He's has written the screenplay for the film Fast Times at Ridgemont High, which is still an iconic '80s classic to this day. So he's been a part of films, rather writing them, producing them, directing them. He's been involved in film for several years now, and Aloha is his latest directing effort. So in Aloha, you guys, this film is about a military soldier who has kind of gone through this rough breakup with a girl. She was almost going to be his wife. They still are kind of, looking back on it, be like, should we have broken this up? And there's still kind of that debate between the two of them, whether they really should have broken up or not, because they do have a lot of values with each other that it's very hard to let go as they move on to other people in their lives as far as relationships go. But while that's going down, because the film also does focus quite a bit on Bradley Cooper's military life, because he is this military soldier named Brian Grillcrest in the movie. He gets assigned with a pilot who's played by Emma Stone, and she's very dutiful. She's very, she listens to every command that her commanding officer tells her. She, knows how to do her job very well. She's one of those people where she does everything by the book, but that can also sometimes get on people's nerves as well. But so her and Bradley Cooper are assigned to a project in Hawaii, which starts really, right away in the movie. And they have to supervise this satellite that they want to release out into space again. It'll help Earth in some way, shape, or form. I don't really know the science behind the satellite. They do explain it at one point, but it kind of went over my head in a way. But so basically, they had to supervise this satellite thing that was going on in Hawaii. And throughout the course of the film, the two of them realize, along with the woman who's played by Rachel McAdams, who was the ex girlfriend of Bradley Cooper, the film also really kind of explores the idea of people kind of understanding our own flaws later in life, how, maybe that's why we didn't have that girlfriend later in life, and how that person didn't become that person's wife, and how that person didn't become that woman's husband, or how that person didn't become, the close friend of that person. This film's about kind of people understanding our own flaws, even if we weren't able to notice it in our youth or our earlier years, or we have a later epiphany in life. The film very much focuses on that. So, my overall thoughts of Aloha, you guys, before I go into my positives and negatives, I thought this was an okay film. I kind of left this film wanting more out of it, but at the same time, I wasn't, it wasn't a complete failure because, like I said, there is some pretty good things about the movie, but it's just we've seen so much better from Cameron Crowe before, and in that regard, it is a disappointment because this is not the next Jerry Maguire, and it's not the next Almost Famous. It's just there. It's not his worst film. It's not his best film. It's just there. It's just not his most notable work. But for my positives and negatives, I did think the Rachel McAdams character was very good in this. She gives a very good performance here. I like how she really felt like she had a huge background history with Bradley Cooper's character. You really got the impression that there was times where they kind of, what, that relationship thing probably could have worked if we did this more, or if you did this more, or if she did this more. And it really just, I liked how Cameron Crowe really made it felt like there was something that happened between the two of them before the movie started, while the movie's going on, and even after the credits roll. We really get this impression that something's going down with them. Something really was going to work, but it never fully worked. And so I like how the film really plays off of that. For those who like Cameron Crowe's, stories about, real people with real problems, people who kind of have a hard time letting go of their youth, kind of like what happened to Jerry Maguire. That kind of happens with Bradley Cooper's character here. And for those who did like the, real people with real problems approach to his earlier stories, he does continue this with Aloha, even if the story isn't exactly up to par with those other movies. Cameron Crowe does still have that technique here, and I like how he is continuing that with Aloha. The film has a great musical score, but this is pretty common with Cameron Crowe's stuff. He seems pretty good about knowing what good music to use for his movies, what makes certain scenes pop out with certain songs in pop culture. It is continued here, and he does have a very good musical score going for the movie. The Hawaiian set designs in the movie are also very impressive. It does show the beauty of Hawaii. It does show their culture very well. I really liked how the Hawaiian set designs really kind of show the beauty of these islands when you ever, if for those who ever go down there or who have been to Hawaii already, it does really show the beauty of that state in the U.S. And what kind of like what I was talking about with the plot synopsis earlier, I did like how the film kind of explores, people understanding our past flaws and how that later helps us in life to avoid those flaws again. And I like how, the film really shows, us understanding our own problems, how we can overcome them, what we have to do differently to become better people and to make sure that those flaws don't come up again. And if they do come up again, how can we make sure to overcome the obstacle once again? I like how the film plays off of this idea quite a bit. But for my negatives of the film, Emma Stone gets a very exaggerated performance here. I hated her character. Even by the end of the film, I felt like her character didn't change much in the movie, and that really bothered me. Just a very exaggerated performance. It wasn't funny. It wasn't. It's just not good Emma Stone quality like we normally see from her. Huge thumbs down. I did not like her performance in the movie. I didn't like the way she was written. And in a way, I kind of didn't buy her acting chemistry with Bradley Cooper here. It just didn't seem to mesh too well after a while. Another negative I had is this was a very misguided story. I felt like there was probably four different plots for four different movies that were used here, and there was ones I liked, but there was ones I didn't like. I think the one with the satellite was probably the weakest. It kind of went on longer than I wish it did. Some of the satellite stuff in space has really bad CGI whenever they really do explore it a lot. So just a really misguided story for those who are really hoping for a cohesive, clear, one or two big topic kind of film. Unfortunately, Cameron Crowe tries to go for about three or four big topics here, and as a result, it's kind of a messy script as a result. I also thought the film needed more Rachel McAdams. She's the best part of the movie. Her character's the most interesting. She had the best performance out of everybody, and unfortunately, we don't get to see her a lot. They treat her like a supporting character, and I wish this was a lead character because I would much prefer her character over Emma Stone. I thought Emma Stone could have been a supporting character or a minor character. That way, I didn't have to deal with her the whole movie because, to be honest, she was kind of annoying after a while watching the movie. So I really thought Rachel McAdams was the best part of the movie, and I really wish they could have gave her more scenes here because I felt like it was too much of a supporting role, and it could have been a lead role because that's where the film really works at its most interesting. There's also some pretty worthless characters in the movie. Danny McBride and Alec Baldwin, for example, have almost nothing to do in this movie. Basically, I can go this far. I think some of Alec Baldwin's better moments in the movie were already spoiled in the trailer. I'm not even exaggerating that. Like the scenes that aren't shown in the trailer, they're pretty worthless. I really felt like kind of Alec Baldwin, phoned it in for his performance. Danny McBride, he's just there. He has no purpose for being in the story. He's like, oh hey, there's Emma Stone. You're on this mission now. Bye. That's what it is. Is it's like that's completely ruining the point of the character. And also, there's some really boring moments in the movie. There was just times where I wanted to check my cell phone and see what time it was and when the movie was going to be done with. Cameron Crowe manages to find a way to make an hour and 45 minutes feel like 2.5 hours because there's some moments here that really drag, that really feel unnecessary, and they don't contribute to the plot that much. So overall, I am going to give Aloha a 7 out of 10. That might be pretty generous, considering the negatives I had. Like I said, there is a good movie in here buried somewhere. It works really well when it works really well, but when it doesn't work well, it really falls flat on its face pretty bad. So 7 out of 10. I say if you do want to see it, I would just rent it. I wouldn't spend the $8 to go see it in the theater. For those who really like Cameron Crowe, it is worth renting just for that one time. I don't plan on buying this, for example. So I would just say rent it if you really do want to see it, if the trailer really intrigued you, if you really like what Cameron Crowe does as a director. But I wouldn't buy the movie, and I probably wouldn't see it for a second time. I didn't think it was that good. So 7 out of 10. It's okay. I wish Cameron Crowe a better film in the future.